Going on, guys? Today's video is gonna be top 5 worst days I ever had at the park. Now, this is only Great Adventure, so yeah, let's just get to this. Now, I got lucky enough that only one day got added to this list last year, and I'm hoping and praying that none get added this year. But well, it sounds like with Toro reopening and the changes they're gonna make, obviously knock on wood that nothing gets added this year. So, and I'm just going to say right now that the only days I would consider an absolute failure are number 2 and number 1. The other ones have some saving graces. Those are the only two that I would say just flat out sucked. Now, number 5, we got September 8th, 2018. This was Ace riding the bull that year. Now, okay. I do not feel good putting any of the riding the bull events on this list. I've always had a great time at all of them. And this one, the reason why, this even made the list is not because of how the event was run. It was because of everything else. It was just kind of a rough experience. So, the morning was all fine. Nitro and slow during the RT, but that's normal. And, we had the tour, and then everything was going completely fine. The park wasn't that crowded in the morning because it was raining. The rain cleared out in the afternoon, and crowds got absolutely insane and made riding anything without a flash pass near impossible. And, of course, as you guys saw, I was with, my friend Avery on this day, and he lost 2 of his phones on Dark Knight. So, yeah, I'm barely crowded or anything, and that is a bad combination. And there was, a good, 2 to 3 hour period when there was no, ERT going on where we didn't even ride anything. It was just us scrambling around trying to find stuff that wasn't too long to ride. I waited 20 minutes to get in the bathroom. Yeah, that's a record, and I hope it never gets beaten. Honestly, at that point, it would have been quicker to just get out of the park and then go to, the McDonald's bathroom rather than wait in that line. Yeah, sadly. I mean, I've been riding the ball 4 years in a row, and it's been pretty crowded a good amount of times. Not so much 2016, that was during a heat wave, but 2017 was pretty crowded too, but it was nothing compared to this. But, yeah, like I said, it had nothing to do with, I think the park was managing the crowds pretty okay. They were running, just about the maximum number of trains on every coaster. But it was still a pain and near impossible to ride stuff nonetheless without a flash pass. We were actually about to buy one, but, neither of us had enough money, so, yeah, it just kind of, yeah. Things just kind of, the mornings were all fine, and things kind of fell apart real quick. Now, number 4 was the day Slamfest is going on, which was August 15th, 2021. Now, after this experience, I never plan to go on the day Slamfest is going on again. And, yeah. I saw it's on a Saturday this year. That's a hard no for me. But, yeah, I was actually going to go the day after. I got invited, my friend don't get to see 12th on stage. So, of course, I was going to go. But overall, the experience was, the crowds were about equally as bad as 2018 Riding the Bull. And it didn't help that they had Jersey Devil and El Toro closed. Those, I knew those were going to be closed, so that didn't really have too big of an effect on the day. But the biggest problem I had with this day was that I really didn't have a plan, and literally a good 2 to 2.5 hours just scrambling around trying to find stuff that wasn't too long to ride. And we were actually going to stick it out, say till closing, because we thought, maybe once the event actually gets going, scare people from the coasters. That didn't happen. Kyle was probably already at about an hour line by noon, 2 hours after opening. And we had ridden Nitro around 10:30ish, and by 11 they already had a good 45-minute wait, at least, maybe a little more. Yeah, this is a day that I can't say I didn't expect the crowds, but the fact that we went to this day without a plan, it was kind of a mess. But it wasn't all bad. The rides were running great, most of them anyway. But yeah, overall the experience was just less than ideal. The one thing I could say I was grateful for on this day was that it wasn't during a heat wave. But yeah, I remember Avery actually told me that this is either the worst or the second worst day he's had at a park. Wow. I wouldn't even go close to that far for me. Yeah, overall, I knew it was gonna be crowded. I knew those 2 rides were gonna be closed, but that made an even bigger impact than I thought. Number 3. April 19th, 2019. Now, this day wasn't near as crowded as the last 2 I just mentioned, but you wouldn't know that by how little amount of rides I got on. So, here was the whole situation with this day. Part of it is on me. I had just had, you know, I would say 2 8 a.m. classes and 2 8:30 classes for 4 days in a row, before this, so obviously I want to sleep in a little bit, so I'm like, okay, I'll ride the park around noon, about an hour and a half after opening. That ended up being a mistake because that costed me riding Toro, which I was pretty bummed about because the last time I'd ridden it was 2018 riding the Bull, and I was like, oh, I'm so excited to ride that again. And, yeah, it didn't end up happening. It's a bit of a long story, so my group wanted to do Mine Train first. I'm like, okay, fine, as long as I get to ride Toro after. I see Toro's down, so I'm like, okay, whatever, fine, I'll just go to Ka. I got 2 rides on that, it was running great. And went down, Toro was still down. Yeah, both of those were at least down for about a good hour. That should give a preview of how the experience was like. And then after that, like, a bunch of other stuff happened in the middle of the day that I'm not really gonna explain. But at this point, I had been in the park for 3 hours, and all I had ridden was 2 rides on Ka, 2 on Mine Train. Yeah, don't ask why I did that twice, and 1 ride on Bizarro. And like this day wasn't, I wouldn't say it was horribly crowded, but long lines were caused by not operating any of the rides at full capacity. Now, the weather was not looking great for this day. It was looking like it was going to storm a lot of the time, so maybe they were not running them at full capacity because they didn't expect the crowds. But the weather shaped up, and, definitely a lot more crowds came in than I was expecting, certainly. Like, I got there to a fairly empty parking lot, and I wouldn't say it was full, but it definitely filled up pretty substantially within about hour and a half time or so. But, I got as close as getting it to Toro Station before the damn thing broke again. And, at that point, and then by the time they got it back open, they had 1 train and an hour wait, and I only had an hour left in the park. So, yeah, I did manage to get, like, 1 ride on Nitro also. It was running kind of slow, unfortunately. But, yeah, this was, and I was really looking forward to this day, and I'd say it was more disappointing than bad. Now, number 2 is, now these are the only 2 days I would consider like an absolute failure that I never want to replicate again. Number 2 is April 4th of 2015. Both of these were before I had my YouTube channel. Both of them in the same year. But, yeah, this day this is not the park's fault. Number 1, I think it's completely the park's fault for that experience being a total shit show. But this one was not much better. So this day, it was a beautiful and sunny day, and temperatures are probably like in the low 50s or so, which is not totally abnormal for, a park visit in early April, but there was high winds in the area that day, which caused, Toro, Ka, Nitro, arguably the big 3 at that time, to be closed for the whole day. And so I wasn't intending on staying long anyway. I was planning on just getting my, my pass validated, getting on a couple rides and leaving, but I stayed even shorter than I thought. So I'll go through what I did get on. I got on Superman, which, riding it in that kind of, in those kind of winds was absolutely brutal. I skipped out on Green Lantern because, obvious reasons. I rode Bizarro, and I was using my 88 pass times. I didn't really have to wait in any lines, but the Bizarro line was be about an hour and a half, which is pretty impressive for that. And I rode Batman also. And I had some hope, like I saw it, a train on the, on Toro's track. I had some hope it was actually going to open, but it turns out that it validated during a test run, and I don't think Ka ever opened, and I don't think Nitro ever opened either. And, like, at that point, like, the Sky Ride wasn't even open, or even Skyscreamer, like, a lot of rides like that weren't even open. So, yeah, all I did was the 3 coasters, Superman, Bizarro, and Batman. I was gone about an hour and a half because the wind and not so much the cold weather, mostly the wind, there was literally no reason to stick around. And that was definitely because I was really looking forward. I mean, I knew it was going to be windy. I knew Kyle would at least be down. I had some hope of riding Nitro and Toro, but that couldn't even happen. So yeah, this visit was definitely, I would say, a dud. Now, number 1, April 6, 2015. The visit I thought was going to make up for this day did anything but. So there was a concert going on, and it was spring break, and this was the only day they were not forecasting any rain that week, from what I remember. So I knew it was possibly going to be crowded. But it took me 45 minutes to an hour to get in the parking lot. This should give a preview of what the experience was like, I would think. So, and then it took me another 40 minutes to get inside, get through security from there. Another 40 minutes to get my 88 pass. And then Nitro, and then, but here was the thing that really, really kind of pissed me off on this day. So, the park was, I find it very hard to believe that they're at short staff. They can only open 2 coasters on an expected busy day during spring break. But it's like, here's the weird thing is that I have gone on a weekday during COVID in 2020, and they had just about every single coaster open. Like, I find it very hard to believe that on a day like this, they can only open 2 coasters. Sure, I think the only ones that were open were Nitro, Dark Knight. I think Skull Mountain probably was open. But yeah, only 3 coasters were open. I waited about 35 minutes for Nitro, even with the ADA pass. The actual line probably would have been about 2.5 hours. I tried doing Ka. That was closed. I tried doing Toro. That was closed. I tried doing Bizarro, and that was, you guessed it, closed. So at that point, and even just walking around the park with those crowds was kind of annoying. So at that point, I had been in the park for about 2 hours. I had ridden one ride, even with the ADA pass. And this, somehow, just seeing those crowds gets me to think maybe this wouldn't have been that great, even if they had more rides open. But certainly, it would have been a better experience than only having one ride open. Even the food lines are absolutely horrendous in this day. There's, a concert going on. So, on a day like that, where they're expecting massive crowds, especially during, spring break, having, only 2 coasters open, having that many big coasters down at once is inexcusable. At that point, I was I'm never, I left that day, and I kind of said to myself, I'm never coming here on a weekday during spring break again. That experience was just awful. So, yeah, by far the worst day I ever had at a park, and I hope it never gets duplicated. So that's pretty much it.